to where it all began here at Charlotte Motor Speedway for Season 1 of the Alpha Touring Challenge. This is the Alpha Touring Challenge Rewind, and this is the first ever Alpha Touring Challenge race here at Charlotte Motor Speedway. Things are going to look a little bit different than they usually do as we go through this first season and then a couple more beyond. We're going to take a look back through some of the series' weirder moments. There will be different formats, unfamiliar drivers, smaller fields, and a lot of Audis. The field is just about to get going. Let's take a look at what we have lined up for this evening's race. We're at the Charlotte Roval. It is February 1st, 2021, and we are here for a 1.5-hour race. Yes, Season 1 did have crown jewel-esque races that were a bit longer, and this first race ever was one of them. A strength of field of only 1,500, lots of these guys still fresh, still new, and a required tire change on the pit stop. This is another wrinkle that's thrown in there, and it wasn't just the front tires, yet at this point you did have to take all 4 tires, and this wasn't the death sentence that it is on today's tires. These tires did actually fall off, and taking extra tires or putting on new tires would make you faster, but typically in the hour-long races it wouldn't be fast enough. In this race it probably makes sense to take fronts, but for this first race or two we're required to take 4 tires total, which eventually did get changed. So the field is currently lining up behind the pace car because we did have a rolling start here in Season 1. Benjamin Forster is going to lead us off. He scores a 126.087 in the 10-minute open qualifying before the race. Then it's Murphy Nichols, Francois Schenck, Corey Ansing, and Andrew Benoff. Those are your top 5 for this first ACC race. Then it is Slugnificent, Wiley Cox, Sean Foes, Mark Darnell, Logan McKenzie, and Joe Camilleri. That is your top 11. Joe did not grid, so we have 10 cars here ready to take on Charlotte Motor Speedway for the start of this race. Now, back in these days, these Audis had much more draft slipstream. So at a roval like this, and there are a number of rovals on the Season 1 calendar, you're going to see a lot of slipstreaming, very patient driving. Over an hour-and-a-half race, we've got a pit stop lined up, and we have a race to run. The safety car is about to peel off for what is and was the first ever race in the Alpha Touring Challenge. It's going to be Benjamin Forster who will take control of the field and lead us off from the chicane. The flag man waiting to drop the green, and Corey's going to go ahead and go. Flag here at Charlotte Motor Speedway. He immediately jumps ahead of Murphy Nichols to start this race, but Nichols battles back around the outside. Ensign is going to line up in third right there with Francois just behind and alongside. Slugnificent and Andrew Benoff fighting for that 5th position behind. Looks like Corey's going to edge out Schenck here. He's going to open the door for Slug to make a move into this corner. And now Francois caught on the outside of that long sweeping double corner that is turns 2 and 3. He gets shuffled back into 5th. They've all kind of fallen into a line here. Now the start of the race has calmed down a little bit. Slug's going to go a bit wide there. That's going to slow up Schenck through this section. He's going to go really defensive onto the oval. Meanwhile, up ahead, Benjamin and Corey going side by side, and I think Francois is going to have an easy time with Slug here. These two also going wheel to wheel down to the chicane. Will Corey be able to clear him before they get there? Yes, he will, but Forster might come back at him. No, he's going to sit behind him. Same with the Slug. Very deep. Some of these cars going in really deep, and Andrew was losing control. I thought that looked like a bit of a deep entry from him, and it looks like Logan McKenzie has also lost control there. He slides off to the left. He was already started in the back of this field. So it is Murphy Nichols who will lead the first ever Alpha Touring Challenge lap. slid off the track, and it's going to be Benjamin Forster who leads that lap. Nichols still sets the fastest lap of the race despite what had happened there. Demote Murphy Nichols to 4th. Nichols continuing to drop here, and it just seems like that mistake has kind of shaken him. Now Benjamin Forster has a pretty sizable lead here, about 9/10 of a second, and Francois Schink still inching away from Slug, trying to open that gap, and there goes Slug. He's really slid out of that corner. That has allowed Nichols back through. He's struggling through this particular sector of the track, and now he has Wiley Cox and Corey Ensign on his tail. Ensign, after that incident earlier, I'm not exactly sure how he fell back this far, but now he's behind Cox and trying to make a move around. Not able to use the slipstring here as Cox is sitting in that upper lane, but it's not going to matter. He might still try a move. No, he will back out before the chicane, but I think Cox has just gone wide. Oh, it's a shunt, and Slug is straight into the tire barrier, and there goes through Mark Darnell, and the Cox definitely overcooked it. Lost control, clobbered over that first curb, or that second curb, and right into the back of Slug. Very unfortunate right there for both drivers. More trouble. Sean Fuzz has been in the wall coming out of the final chicane, and he has yielded a position to Andrew Benah. There might be some slight right side damage. Yes, on the right front, there is some damage to that Audi. And these two are back together. It's Corey Ensign and Murphy Nichols down into the final chicane. Ensign trying to get back into the top 4. And he gets a really good run out to this final corner, to the left side, to the right side of turn 1, down and up the curb, takes a lot of it, gathers it back up. He's able to keep it out of the wall, but that's going to allow Nichols back in, and they're going to go side by side through these next 2 corners, and Ensign is going to have the advantage here. Nichols might be able to get a better exit if he really brings it around that outside line, but he flirts with the grass, still manages to hold his momentum. I think Ensign may have been a little conservative, but he still has the preferred line through these next 2 corners. Nichols going wide. There's no grip out there. He gets the power down. What a battle here. I don't know how Nichols is holding this position, but he is doing it. Oh, he's going to contact as they enter the oval. A huge shunt, a huge door bang, and that is going to allow Ensign to finally make that move on the back straight. And Nichols just had to go in a little too shallow there. Hard to tell who pinched who there. You see Nichols flashing Ensign, not very happy. And he does have right side damage to that car, and I don't see a whole lot of damage reciprocated on the number 15. 14 minutes into this race, and we've just seen Logan McKenzie get a great run onto the oval, and he's going to try and take the long way around Mark Darnell here for the 6th position. He's really far up there. Darnell really far down on the track, and I think Darnell's going to back out of it, and that's going to be a position for McKenzie as he continues his climb up from 10th place. This is the closest we've seen these two in a moment. Shink's been on the tail of Forster for quite some time, and now 17 minutes into the race. Are we going to see Shink try and make a move here? He's obviously taking his time. They have a 7.5 second gap to Ensign behind. So he's in no rush. Save fuel, save tires. You do know you have to change the tires at some point, so you don't have to do too much tire saving here. But he may still be taking fuel into consideration since everyone has to change tires. It's not like you're going to gain or lose time by taking said tires a bit earlier or later. And coming off onto the oval, it is Andrew Benah. It looks like he is going to go around Mark Darnell here. Both those guys nursing damage. It looks like Benah has a bit more so than Darnell. And he's going to move up into 7th for this one, just 19 minutes in. On to lap 16. These two have been glued to each other ever since the first couple of laps after Shink sort of recovered there at the start of the race. Got back up from being mired in 5th to right on the bumper of Forster. And he's been making a couple of sort of exploratory moves in the previous laps. And I think he's fine to wait back here if Forster does not make any mistakes. But if he starts to slow him up, you might see Shink try and make a move for the lead. As they come onto the oval, this is where you would see him make a move, and Forster has made a mistake going onto the oval, and Shink's going to take that inside line, and there's really going to be nothing that the number 7 can do to defend this, and Shink is going to try and take the lead for the first time in his ATC career. Down to the chicane, they are wheel to wheel. He's on a narrow line there, but they play it quite safe, very respectful. They left each other the room. Shink goes through for the lead. Forster knows he can tuck back in here and try again a little bit later. Let's see if he tries it again right here. Going into the final chicane. Shink still hasn't led a lap. There is a bonus point on the table for that. Forster trying to deny him that. Not going to be able to. Shink through the chicane. He is your new leader. Back in the field is the battle for 7th. Sean Foes and Mark Darnell is the lead car down into this final chicane, and Foes is going to go to the right side. Darnell holding that outside line, takes a safe entry, allows Foes to go through, and that's the move done for 7th place. Now coming down pit lane, it is Benjamin Forster, just a second off of Francois Shink when he came in. He's going for the undercut on the number 18 here. He is just the second car to make a pit stop, and they do jack him up to put those new tires on just 34 minutes into this race. Francois Shink coming around, hasn't even gotten onto the oval yet, and we will see here whether or not he reacts to this maneuver by Forster and his crew. So while Francois Shink has chosen to not react and let Forster go on those fresh tires for now, it is Slugnificent who will go ahead and pit, get that rear end damage fixed. He missed his pit box there, so it's going to cost him a second, maybe 2. But he's going to go ahead and get that fresh set of boots on 36 minutes into this race, and he'll try to go the next hour on those. Mark Darnell, also down pit lane, currently running in 7th place. He's had a pretty undramatic race, a little bit of left side damage, waiting to get repaired here. And then they will send him back out. I believe the cars might be doing 2 pit stops a day on fuel, but you are only required to make one tire change. But with how early these guys are pitting, it does seem like fuel is going to be a 2-time thing, as Darnell also goes for that fresh set of tires early on in the race. And we have another taker. It is Corey Ensing in pit lane, taking a fresh set of tires. Andrew Benaw also coming down pit road, and the number 71, he will pull into his stall, and that will be his stop. Will he also take tires? Nobody has chosen to try and take the tires longer than these 30 minutes, but it doesn't look like Benaw is going to do it. And now we have the race leader, Francois Shink, coming down pit lane. Will we see him take tires and match Forster? There's really no reason not to. I think he has the pace. You might as well match what your opponents are doing just to make sure you cover them off and don't expose yourself to anything later in the race. And they will immediately jack him up, and he will take that fresh set and come out here just ahead of Forster. Francois Shink released from his pit stall. Where is Benjamin Forster? I don't think he's anywhere to be found. He's only at the start-finish line, and Francois Shink is going to be far, far ahead in this one. The overcut has really worked for him, and this is the onboard for Forster. Shink is nowhere to be seen. He is completely around those corners and up the road. And now with just 50 minutes to go, this is Shink's race to lose. Wiley Cox, the last of the cars to not pit, has come down pit lane just shy of the halfway mark. I do think we are not going to be able to see anybody going on just one stop. We'll see another fuel stop later in this race. Cox will be able to get that front end damage repaired, and he will get back out there. And we have a little scrap here for 5th place. That last spot in the top 5. Andrew Benaw has some damage. May have done it to himself earlier. I'm not sure. This is after the pit stop. It's on his left side. He's going to let Cox go down the inside here. Now Cox is going to back out. And, he's going to go wide into the cones. Takes out all of them. Comes back across. And Cox is going to go around and through. That is almost certainly going to be a penalty. Sean Foes is apparently also spun out on his own just ahead of them. So there's 3 cars. Here comes the leader, Francois Schink. He's going to have to navigate all this traffic. That's a bit nerve-wracking. 2 damaged cars on the inside line in front of you. He has an 8.9 second gap to Forster, so he can afford to be a little bit careful around these guys, even though there are still 40 full minutes to go in this race, and he gets by both of them. Sean Foe's still hunting down Andrew Benah, who just got a really bad run out of the final corner, and Foe's is going to go through for that top 6 spot, but he's overcooked it into turn 1. Huge strike on the wall. That might be damage. It is damage. That wheel looks like it is broken. Look at it. It is dropped onto the ground. It may not be as damaged as it looks, though. It's difficult to tell. Look at that. That looks like it's broken. But he's still driving it. Ben out onto the grass. These guys are driving some real beat-up machines at this point. Cox was not able to repair on that other pit stop. Or he has suffered damage since then. But these 3 are fighting for position. That car behind them is Benjamin Forster, who has gained a second on Francois Schink. But that may have been down to Schink being a bit careful. Now he has to navigate this traffic, and it's looking a bit dicey just up ahead. Wiley Cox is going to let him go through on the blue flags. And now down into the chicane, it's going to be Andrew Benah next up as he goes way over the curbs. These guys taking a lot of those big blue sausage curbs. Now he is flashing Andrew Benah. That's Forster who's flashing Andrew Benah. And Benah's going to flash back. And this may be a situation where blue flags are not going to be respected. At least not at the moment. Doesn't feel like he needs to let Forster through. At some point, he's going to start slowing him down. And Forster, after getting through that group of lapped cars, has now pulled down pit lane a bit early to top off on fuel. And just trying to get the pit stop out of the way early on. Insing is doing the same thing here. Just going to go ahead and go to the end, trying to maybe undercut Schink a little bit. But the gap's so large, I think this is more of just let's get the pit stop out of the way and focus down these last 33, 34 minutes to finish this race. He's been out of trouble for the most part so far today, and now he is one of the later takers on this last fuel stop. Though Schink still has not come in. Slug has been running in second for quite a while, sitting there as Insing and Forster had both pitted. But now they're both going to go by him as he takes on that last bit of fuel to get to the end of this race. And the number 18 of Francois Schink emerges from pit lane, having completed his final fuel stop. And the gap is going to be looking insurmountable here. Waiting for it to update and come down as they cross the line, and it looks like it's about 16 seconds still coming down. About 14 seconds. Yeah, that is looking like Schink just has to keep this one on track, under control, well managed, and he'll bring it home. It's 10 minutes to go, and we might see a change of podium places. You see Forster has a little bit of right side damage. He picked it up from a wall strike earlier. It's been slowing him down, and now Corey Insing is on his rear bumper. He's gotten a lot of curve there. He's off the sorts. Corey's going to go by for P2. He's been behind him for over an hour at this point, but finally he makes his way back around the number 15, and it is Corey Insing who is on to P2. Now a battle for the final top 5 position in the closing stages of this one. Mark Darnell and Wiley Cox, 2 survivors, both 2 laps down and both right next to each other with just a couple laps to go in this one. 4 minutes on the dot left in the race, and Wiley Cox looking to the outside on NASCAR turn 2. They are heading down to the chicane, to the bus stop. Darnell edges ahead. Cox taking it nice and slow, safe here. He's going to try and use the slipstream on corner exit to haul that number 42 past the 83 of Darnell. And it's quite a big gap here. That looks like 3 or 4 tenths, so I don't think he's going to be able to get him right here. Schink ahead is now only 2 or 3 laps. He's coming across the line now, so that's going to be 3 laps to go here for Darnell and Cox in this fight. Darnell still has about 3 or 4 tenths on the 42. But Cox has had a lot of pace here towards the end. He's been hunting down Darnell. As you see him go through this double right-hander, very tricky, but Cox is going to get all the way up, dive down to the apex. Darnell did a good job with the compromised entry to get a good exit. Now up the hill to another right-hander. And this is where Cox needs to nail it. He needs to get a good exit onto the oval if he wants a shot at this position, at this 5th place. Darnell misses the apex a little. Cox gets the power down early, and you can see by how much wider he pushed the car there, and now he's going to have a real good run. Now with only a couple laps left, will he force it down into the bus stop? They are going to go side by side. Darnell defending really good, but he leaves room for Cox. They leave room for each other, and that is going to allow Darnell to edge back ahead here as we come down to just 2 laps to go for these two. A couple laps to go here. It's the penultimate lap, and Cox is ready to make another move on Darnell. He sticks a nose in there, but doesn't actually act on it. Now hugging his bumper, really trying to keep the grip down through this section. He needs to do well here to get a good run out onto the oval and get one of what will likely be one of 2 final shots at passing Darnell. Darnell got a good exit there. I don't think Cox is going to be close enough this time. It wasn't a straightforward race for him. He may have started 3rd, but he was all the way back in 5th at one point, stuck in traffic, navigating through slower cars. He's survived it all. He's held the front. He's pulled off 2 flawless pit stops. Francois Schink wins the first ever Alpha Touring Challenge race at Charlotte Motor Speedway Roval. And what a deserved victory it is after an hour and a half of grueling racing. That Audi, he has hauled that Audi into victory lane, and one of what I can only assume will be many victories for the 18. Singh comes in 2nd, a well-fought race for him, and a good job for him to catch back up to Benjamin Forster at the end. Forster with 3rd, Slug with 4th, and Mark Darnell is going to round out the podium for this first race. A very solid drive from the 83. Do it here at Charlotte Motor Speedway. Your race results: Francois Schink, the winner of the first ATC race, round 1, season 1. Singh, 2nd place. Forster finishes off that podium. Then it is Slugnificent, Mark Darnell, Wiley Cox, Andrew Benoff, Sean Foes, Murphy Nichols, Logan McKenzie, and then Joe Camilleri did not grid. Let's take a look at our championship standings after one race. It's Schink atop the board with 22 points. He picks up a couple of bonus points for leading a lap, and I believe also the fastest lap. He had the fastest first sector, second sector, and third sector, but did not have the fastest fourth sector there. So great drive from him, going up to 22 points. That's Ensing on 18, and Forster on 17. He will pick up the bonus point for leading a lap. And that is it from Charlotte. Round 1 of Season 1 is wrapped. Where will we go next? Stay tuned to Alpha Touring Challenge Rewind for the next chapter of Season 1.